Welcome to Voice Rising with Kara Johnstad. Enjoy weekly conversations with leading luminaries, pioneering visionaries, singers, poets, musicians, and sound healers as we explore the profound role our voice plays on the path to self-realization and global enlightenment. The internationally acclaimed singer, composer, author, healer, recording artist, voice expert, creator of Voice Your Essence, and founder of the School of Voice, Kara Johnstad uses her extraordinary spiritual gifts to empower others. Everything in this world vibrates. Everything has a frequency. A pioneer in the field of voice work and transformational songwriting. Her breakthrough methods are helping thousands of people worldwide fine-tune their body-mind-spirit system and unlock the energetic frequencies of limitless creativity, health, and abundance. Share your voice, ask your questions, join in the conversation. Receive life-changing, positive transformation and rise together to create a sound world. And here's your host, Kara Johnstad.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Voice Rising today. With me in studio from the deep woods of the North Pacific is singer-songwriter Beth Whitney. Beth, welcome to Voice Rising.
Thank you for having me.
So, Beth, your new album, you just released it, Into the Ground, is an invitation to come closer to our own heartbeat, to embrace our own stories of love and loss. How does it feel for you to have a new album out?
You know, it's always a little bit like, it's almost like having a baby in a way. Because you work, don't you think you work on it for a long time, and then
yes,
it just slowly, it starts as a spark and then slowly grows into an album, a collection of songs, and and then there's always that time when you haven't quite released it yet. That time is always kind of exciting. And anyway, I probably liken to pregnancy and childbirth too many things, but there's just so many parallels I'm finding.
And there's that time where you have to find the name, right? Yes. How did you manage to find the name? I mean, how was that for you? Into the Ground is the name.
Into the Ground.
What does that mean for you?
Well, I was playing around with the name. I named the album after I recorded it, so which I typically do. I try to let it be a whole collection before I name it. But I was just sort of pouring through the lyrics and have found this line that I'd written, Out of the Ground. So it's from the song Wild Roses, and which is the first song on the album. But there's a line that says, out of the ground, the smallest sound, out of the dirt, tumbling down around you now. These things take time. And it's talking about a seed that has grown and starts to burst out of the earth, and that first, peeking into the light. And so I was going to name it actually Out of the Ground. But as I thought more about it, I was like, I don't think we're ready. I don't think we're ready to come out of the ground yet. I think that we still have some work underneath to do. And we know that, like, if a seed pops up too quickly, it blows away, or it just doesn't have a chance to. So I kind of flipped it, on to this Into the Ground idea, which is a little bit, it almost sounds morbid, but I don't mean it that way. I mean it in a way that that lets us really take time with those foundations that we build in ourselves, in our projects, in our work, in our relationships. Just give those some more breath. So that's the idea behind the title, Into the Ground.
Well, I think that a lot of people, they're always talking about shooting towards the light, but the truth is that the seed does need a lot of nurturing and literally has to push itself through a lot of darkness before it comes above ground. And like what you said is, when the seed then finally comes above ground, it can't get too much wind, it can't get too much light too fast. It needs also, even when the sprout is above ground, or in this case the wild rose, it needs time to root and to anchor, right? And a lot of us, I think we do forget that the roots are as deep as the branches and the buds, right? And the darkness is as deep as the light. And there's this whole thing in our society about, go for the light and shoot for the light and be in the light. But there's something very healing and nurturing about understanding that our roots are in the darkness. At least that's yeah.
I think that's a beautifully put. Yeah, I saw this. I saw a picture recently of prairie grass, like prairie grass that healthy prairie grass that's ancient, that's been there a long time, and compared to new crops, and it was just unbelievable. The crops, commercial crops would be, the roots were down maybe 3 inches or so, or more, depending on the plant. But then the prairie grass, which is just grass, was actually like, it's taller than the man holding it up. It was,
right.
6 or 7 feet, just the roots for grass. And the grass itself was maybe a couple feet tall, but that was such a good image for me. And I mean, to be honest, I think that I probably spend more time in the ground than I should. I'm constantly thinking of what's going on here, and what's the meaning behind this, and how can this be helped? I think about that a lot, and I forget the sun. I forget the make goals and get out there and have some fun, and those are not natural things for me. So fortunately, I have people around me that remind me to look up at the sun. But I mean, on the other hand, there's all different kinds of people on earth, and some will be more familiar with what's under the ground, with the roots, with constantly finding meaning and purpose and everything, and then others will feel, be better at feeling just the pure joy of being alive, reaching towards the sun. And I think we need all of each other. We're not just we're not just individual plants, in this big field. We are supposed to work together. Our roots are supposed to intertwine, and it's pretty beautiful.
Our roots are supposed to intertwine. You've got it, Beth. Beth, do you remember where you were when you wrote your very first song? Do you remember the feeling of writing your very first song? It's not your first album now, so you've been doing this for a little bit of time.
Yeah, I think I was probably in my living room. There was a gentleman at my church, a really kind older man named Leroy, and he came up to me after church one day and held out a guitar. I was 15 or 16 at the time, I think 15. Mm-hmm. He held out a guitar and he said, "Could you use this?" And I remember immediately, speaking of overthinking things, I immediately was thinking, I was interpreting that, can I use this? Can I use this? Can I use this? Like, it's like and then I decided that, I said, I could use that. And so, and this was before, I didn't sing, or, I wasn't in band or anything like that.
You didn't sing as a child? You didn't
I
just
did
sing all the time?
Oh, I certainly did. Yeah, I did sing all the time, but it was never like, oh, I'm a singer. I sing. I perform. That wasn't part of my life, really. We would sing as a family a lot together, and I liked to sing, but I wasn't a performer, I guess is the better way to say it.
Maybe that's your beauty, because when I listen to your voice as someone who does do a lot of singing, but you have this innocence and this pureness, and at the same time a little bit of roughness. It's very beautiful, because you're not so polished. You I don't know how to explain it, but it's this innocence and still this strength. It's like a fierce tenderness, which brings me to the next song. We're going to open this show. I want the listeners to hear this voice that is rooted. It does have deep roots, your voice. It's not airy fairy and floating there in the clouds. You have deep roots. I want them to hear we're going to open it with Thunder. Do you want to share a couple of words about this song?
Sure. Yeah, this one I wrote, it kind of describes it a little bit just with the lyrics, but it was early one morning, and I try to capture that kind of that sacred time between like 5 and 7 a.m. It's rare that I actually do when my kids are young, just because you're trying to lick up all the sleep you can get. But it was early one morning, and I think it was raining, and things just kind of it was interesting because things were all making sense and all confusing and full of grief at the same time. It was sort of just a moment when I was very awake, and out of it comes this prayer, this ancient, not ancient, it's from the 1700s, but it's the chorus some people might recognize as a hymn, and then the verses I wrote, and it sort of does this juxtaposition of the walking through grief, and then also maintaining a prayer of asking for blessing and mercy.
Beautiful.
So, yeah, that's the idea behind Thunder.
Beautiful. Let's listen to Thunder off of your new Into the Ground album.
Thanks.
I hear the hum of the thunder in the early morning. My baby's fast asleep. Thunder, I feel the thunder at first flash of lightning, and the whole earth began. And come thou fount of every blessing, into my heart to sing thy praise. Streams of mercy find your way to me. Under the rose, there's a hunger for coming alive through the pavement we laid. Holy breath on the water, hovers and whispers words that I like to know. And come thou fount of every blessing.
You're listening to Thunder from Beth Whitney's newest album, Into the Ground, and Beth is with us today in studio. Beth, you mentioned that you do have kids and that you kind of grab those moments when you can to write music. Do you have any writing rituals or daily writing practice, or is it literally late at night or early in the morning?
I've tried to apply some rituals. I'm a fan of Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way.
Nice.
She does the early morning pages, and it was actually something I started in high school, just from a poetry teacher who had us do free writes every day when we got to class for like 10 minutes of the class, and I noticed how my writing would change over time into, I would write for the first minute of like, tick tock, I hear the clock on the wall, and I'm just kind of sitting here at school. I had a grilled cheese, and then, eventually the writing, I would just start writing in images, just all these different things, these images I was seeing, and that I didn't understand, and then I would go back through and circle things that really stood out to me. And then sometimes create a song around that. But I really, I try to do that now. If I have a little window to write, I will start with a free write and then take it from there. But normally I'll just think of something in the car. I'll think of a hook or an idea, or, and then I make a voice memo or something, and then try to tackle it later. So it's kind of a smattering these days. I like how, I think it was Julia also who described writing when you live kind of a hectic life, like treat writing like a love affair. It's sort of like when you can, when you do have those moments, like, dive in and make the most of it. And so I think that it would be really beneficial for me to really consistently wake up early and just give myself that time, because I'm thinking that I might be a highly sensitive person, and I think I just need that time alone and to process, and so I can be my best the rest of the day.
I mean,
do you have a process? Yeah,
I do. I also wake up very early. I really like Julia Cameron's morning pages. I think they're fantastic. She also has a great thing, The Artist's Date. I just interviewed her a couple of months ago on Voice Rising, and so it's always delightful to see, how we can see it as a love affair, and how we can carve out the same space that we would have maybe to have lunch with somebody. We take our journal and have lunch with ourselves. And but I'm going to take a very short break, and then we're going to be back with more on songwriting and writing and your music.
The cutting edge of conscious radio. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
OMTimes magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organisation, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. Connect at omtimes.com. OMTimes, creating a more conscious lifestyle.
With happy clients all over the world, Cara Johnstad knows that your voice is the missing link to more authenticity, abundance, creativity, and health. An internationally acclaimed voice expert, Cara's breakthrough methods have helped thousands of people successfully heal their voice wounds and extinguish the story of self-doubt and shyness forever. Join in group trainings, attend online sessions, schedule one-on-one time, and invite Cara to work with your organization and community. Get started today. Go to www.carajohnstad.com and receive a special guided meditation designed to fine-tune your inner voice and welcome you on the voice journey.
This is Kathy Beal, host of Celestial Compass, featuring astrology you can use. Celestial Compass points you to what's going on in the sky and what you can do with it down here on Earth. We also explore fun, effective, and cosmic tools for navigating this adventure we call life. Join me the first and third Monday of the month at 5 p.m. Eastern Time for Celestial Compass. It's enlightening, entertaining, and empowering.
COVID-19, brought to you by CDC and the Ad Council.
If you're feeling increasingly lonely right now, you're not alone. It's totally normal. Even though we may not be able to get together in person, connecting virtually with friends and family still gives you a chance to interact with people and may help raise your spirits. Join a virtual book club, set up group text chats, or online video coffee breaks with coworkers.
Find more self-care and coping tips at coping-19.org.
Welcome back to Voice Rising. I'm your host, Cara Johnstad, and with me in studio is singer-songwriter Beth Whitney. We were just talking about daily rituals or writing practices, talked a little bit about morning pages. I do love to wake up with the sunrise. I find that quiet time is so precious. And I'm also trying, I don't know how it is for you up in the mountains of Washington State, but I am trying also to unplug more my phone and leave it off. And I do find that this whole phone social media thing, it distracts me a lot because I love great ideas, and then I see so many wonderful ideas that I get distracted from my own inner voice. And so currently, one of the things I'm doing is really trying to keep that phone off until noon. Not always able to, but yeah.
Yeah. That's a great call. I need more, like, I have to, like, leave it in the car, in the glove box. And it's very, very addicting. And I think that's a good way to put it. Just a lot of great ideas, and people and what's going on all in this, at least one kind of a unilateral side of the human existence is all in this one little box you can hold, and it's very enticing. But
even music, right? I mean, you can listen to music, you can watch videos, you can connect with friends, you can make phone calls, and you can get distracted sometimes with all that beauty inside that little box from what's around you. And at least I can get so many voices in front of me that I lose connection with my own voice. So that's my practice in the moment, is wake up very early for silence and try to keep that phone off. Beth, on your new album, you have a song called Two Suns, and there are some beautiful cellos on this track. The question, is the song inspired by the parable where Jesus, he was, what was he doing? The New Testament. It was found in Matthew, this song.
Yes.
Help me out. Is it from the New Testament, just a new take?
It is. It is. It's pretty exact to the story. I hope, at least I was trying to do that, just because we can misinterpret so well some of those things, according to our purposes. But it's the story of the prodigal son, and the first verse. A lot of the first verse is essentially straight from it. Like the verse starts, "There once was a man who had two sons, and the younger one said to his father," is just word for word from there. And then I sort of, I make it rhyme and everything, but try to keep to the story. And then the bridge is the part I've added that isn't necessarily in the story, but it just says, "I'm miles and miles from home," and I'm trying to pour some of the loneliness I've been feeling out somewhere else. It's like this idea of home, and being taken in completely. And, it's like home with a capital H. It's something I haven't totally known before completely. And there's an ideal in my mind of a wholeness so that's the part in the song that I sort of step into, and it's really healing. Anytime I ever play that song, just singing that part, and then kind of knowing where the story goes, is just it's one of those moments in music where I all of a sudden I'm like, here I am. This is like a fully honest, fully real, moment where I'm singing these lines. And, it's kind of tricky to explain, but you are correct. It's from the parable there in the New Testament.
Let's listen to it. Sometimes music doesn't even have to be analyzed or explained so much. Let's listen to Two Sons off of the Into the Ground album.
There once was a man who had two sons, and the younger one said to his father, "Give me what is mine and cut me from the vine. I'm headed to the city, it's my time. But money has a funny way of running low, and all you know is now. We'll take it in and shake it thin and leave you someplace dark. It'll take you in." There once was a man who had two sons, and the older one said to his father, "Why for a beast do you give a feast, a robe, a ring and red wine? But love has a funny way of running out to meet the lost, taking you into your life again and brighter than you ever been. It'll take you in. It'll take you in. It'll take you in. It'll take you in our miles and miles from home. In our miles and miles from home. In our 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 miles from home. There once was a man who had two sons, and the younger one said to his father.
That was Two Sons off of Beth Whitney's newest album, Into the Ground, and Beth is with me in studio. Beth, you were talking a little bit about the sense of healing, the sense of belonging, and we often struggle to resist surrendering our tender natures. As singer-songwriters, we know this place so well, to stand on stage and really be open and vulnerable, and at the same time strong, and at the same time shaky.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the healing aspects of songwriting for you. And then, of course, you are taking it a step further, because some people just write songs, but they're writing songs for other singers. You are a singer-songwriter, so you're up on stage sharing these stories and sharing this tender fierceness that one hears in your heart. What is the healing aspect of songwriting for you?
Yeah. Well, I think it's probably, there's two parts to it, really. There's the writing part that kind of takes the chaos that some emotions and even stories and memories and all of that can kind of be a chaotic experience. And for me, songwriting takes those and kind of spins them into a thread almost, or maybe if we're in the ground metaphor, it's turning all that soil and bringing it into the seed and having it sprout. So it's taking everything that is and sort of channeling it into something coherent, something a little more edible for myself and maybe for others. I think for a while, like growing up, I wasn't sure how to connect with other people. Like I didn't understand why, kids especially, like why they were mean to each other, and why sort of the hierarchy on the playground worked the way it did, and why, I'm sure a lot of kids feel that way, but I remember feeling especially sort of separate, and I kind of wanted to be separate, but I also desperately wanted to be, involved too, and at least belong, and to share, to be understood. And so I think part of writing was to sort of assemble my thoughts and stories and everything within me, and then performing those, the second tier of it, or the second part of it, performing those I found that it really connected with people, and there are folks that I didn't imagine would understand, what I was trying to say, just because we hadn't connected in another way before. But all of a sudden, I think I made more sense. And then it's probably every artist's thing, what are we doing? Why are we artists at all? We're helping people to feel what they might be choosing not to feel. I always find it really interesting when I talk to someone and they say, "Oh, I can't even think about it," or I don't even want to, let's have a drink or something like that. And I'm like, to me, that's very foreign. And it seems like, and I envy it in a way, to just shut everything off and just, I don't know. I can't even describe
numb out,
what that's like. Yeah. But, so performing, one of the first songs I wrote was for a sophomore English project. That was sort of a big project, and I had procrastinated. And even in my procrastination, I'm just chewing on it. I want to chew on it for a really long time before I get started. But it was actually, the interesting thing, it was one of my first songs, the first song I probably performed for anyone, and it was a song about isolation. That's what the sophomore English teacher asked us to do a project on. It was just a broad, the topic was isolation, and you can do a paper, you can do anything you want. And I chose to write a song and research these different people groups who tend to be isolated, and that's what I wrote the song about, and then I had to perform it for the class, which was nerve-wracking. But I remember when I finished, like there was a standing ovation, and I was like, huh, like that really connected or worked for some reason as a human connecting moment. And there's healing in that. I think I need to continue to learn to be okay with who I am, and embracing who I am, and loving who I am, and then letting that shine out instead of, I don't want any of my motivation to be, I don't want too much, a disproportionate amount of my motivation or inspiration to be external. I want it to be, an inner fire burning, but I don't know exactly how to,
how to
make
formulate
that happen,
it.
so.
Well,
Yeah,
it sounded magical. I think you're not alone, that many artists, and I know for myself too, I was painfully shy, very much on the outside. I think that many artists go through these things until we really find our authentic voice. And as soon as we stay true to that, amazingly enough, it has a magnetism or resonance that surprises us. I mean, it takes us sometimes years to even realize that. And it sounds like for you too, at school, you were not necessarily, I don't know, I'm just thinking about what you were saying about the playgrounds, you maybe weren't prom queen or Miss Popular, and suddenly to sing and to have a standing ovation, it was like, wow. I mean, where were these people when they were throwing, splatter balls at me, or when I was, getting hit on the playground. I mean, right?
Yeah.
When you're suffering from isolation and loneliness, to suddenly see the group because you stood in your truth and in your honesty, obviously. So we're going to take a very short break, Beth, and be back with more on your new album, Into the Ground.
Bringing a more conscious lifestyle to your world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. ascendinghearts.com.
Life is a flow, and enlightenment is simply harmonizing with the way life really is. Then you find that life is effortless, benevolent, and free of all suffering. Hey everyone, this is GP Walsh, and I want to invite you to my brand new radio show that's launching right here on OMTimes Radio called The Flow of Enlightenment. I've been a spiritual teacher for decades, and my greatest pleasure is being able to share with you these deep and highly practical spiritual ideas. So join me in The Flow every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern and let yourself be transformed.
The United States has the highest rate of incarceration in the world. At the Equal Justice Initiative, we believe mass incarceration has to end. There is this presumption of dangerousness and guilt that gets assigned to Black and brown people. We have to confront our history of racial injustice and commit to a new era of truth. There's something better waiting for us, something that feels more like freedom. Truth can inspire change. Please learn more at eji.org.
This is Cara Johnstad. You are at Voice Rising, and with me is Beth Whitney. We are diving into songwriting and her new release, Into the Ground. Beth, your first single off of your new album was Wild Roses. It's also the first track on your album. And besides being a symbol of friendship and love, we know this, right? Often red roses are for the loves of our life. It's also a symbol of keeping secrets, which I thought was very interesting when I was diving into roses this past week. And in the Roman era, which I didn't know, There was a tradition of hanging wild roses, right? We can start this in your concerts now. Hanging wild roses above meeting places and tables, and it was said that anybody who spoke anything under the rose, that it would never be spoken or repeated anywhere else. So if you spoke under the wild rose, it was the secrets that were to be kept close to your heart. And this is my question to you as a songwriter, because I know this myself as a songwriter. When you touch truth and you touch on that honesty, often we're touching also on things that we've kept down or that may be taboo, or you're kind of releasing secrets of good stories, whether it's, maybe stories, like you said, that you're inspired by. How is it for you as a songwriter? Is this where the best songs come from? Often things that want to be revealed that have been buried under the ground for many, many years at times?
Oh man, that's a really beautiful question. Gosh, I did not know that about Under the Rose. That is really cool. That's a really neat thing to learn. Yeah, I'll have to start hanging them up.
Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting too, because the track, the opening track to my last album is called Raven, and ravens are very much a symbol of a lot of different things to a lot of different groups. Ravens have been a strong symbol, but one of the main ones is that a similar thing, that they collect stories in their wings, and like stories and truth that they then drop on, drop on people or communities that they, when they see fit. They're kind of a wily bird, but it's that same idea of them collecting stories in their feathers. So that's was really interesting that those would both be strong symbols in what I've made. But it seems like the songs that seem to resonate the most with me and with others seem to be those that come from a very deep place and a very and a maybe truth that is hard to is hard to swallow, like swallowing a stone. But then if you can if you can rearrange it and help it make sense, kind of project it onto the wall with poetry and music, mystery becomes easier to absorb into your life, into your story. So my answer, I guess, is yes. And I wanted to clarify. Go ahead.
No, I was like, maybe it is that giving it a melodic line that it can fly freer is easier than speaking. Like a hard truth can be hard to swallow. But again, like you said, if you wrap it in mystery and bring it over surrounded by melody and rhythm, that it penetrates the skin a little bit softer. Yeah, it's the same. I mean, I get the same feeling sometimes in the woods, when you're just sort of gazing around at the complexity of it. But as a whole, as the broader, wilderness kind of the idea of wilderness, when you're standing in it, it's like hearing a song. It does so much work just by looking around and smelling the forest and feeling the forest on your feet. It's a really sort of magical thing. But I wanted to clarify, if that's okay, as far as school and growing up, I was not bullied, or I remember a couple things that happened that were pretty. Do you hear my rooster? I remember a couple things, that really stuck out. Like there was a boy that hit me one time, and it knocked the wind out of me, and I didn't know that was a thing, to get the wind knocked out of you. So there's a few things, but I learned
I'm the fifth of 6 kids, so I kind of learned early on like what people expect of you, or what they would like, or what, I can sort of sense what someone wants. And so, but what it meant was I would sort of present this, 20% of myself that could maneuver in social settings. And I definitely wasn't homecoming queen or anything, but I could maneuver, socially using this 20%, which was painful in its own way, because there was this other 80% that I knew was weird. I knew it was a weird, they were, or, not atypical or whatever it was, the overthinker, or the, just pulling, sort of meaning from, or it's hard to explain, but I knew there was 80% of me that that should probably be kept underneath. And, so that was sort of that's the loneliness that I talk about, is just, what do I do with this 80% of me that has a really hard time maneuvering with other people? And maybe it's not unique to me, but yeah.
I don't think it's unique to you. I actually gave a beautiful interview with Anita Morjani, who has a new book out called Sensitive is the New Strong. And I do think that there are more of us out there, but we just feel so alone at times. There are many empaths and there are many sensitive souls, but everybody's believing that they have to behave in a certain way to kind of manage, right? And I think that if we all realize that there are other ways, and the way I see it when I listen to your music is maybe that time is also the rooting, those long roots, because it does sound like that 80% is starting to blossom. So no worries here. I want to listen to Wild Roses while we still have time. So let's just play Wild Roses, and we can talk about it afterwards.
Okay.
There's a break in the light floods in.
You're listening to Wild Roses off of Beth Whitney's newest album, Into the Ground. I have Beth with me in studio. Under the snow, there are roses. How do they know when to wake, right? It reminded me of I don't know if you know this song, but it's called You Must Believe in Spring by Michel Legrand and Alan and Marilyn Bergman. They talk a lot. The lyrics also talk about this, the rose that lies waiting for spring, and the amazing trust it takes, right? That we forget sometimes the patience. And I think when I listen to you talk a little bit, not a lot. I know you have a lot of joy in your life too, but solitude, loneliness, that is the same trust that winter brings with her. And it seems like you're connected also to that healing force of regeneration, that trust of allowing the darkness not to overcome you, but to use it as a place for nurturing. Is that true, or is it a struggle to work with the winter moments of our lives?
It's a struggle, and both of the things you said are true. It's I think it's I think of like being cast out to sea, with a tether, and just sort of getting further and further from the boat, and trying to balance like exploring and discovering the sea without drowning. And it's tricky, and I don't know if I've gone too far in before. It certainly can feel very heavy, and it's not intentional. I want to be happy and joyful, and I'm working on just being really present and trying to find the brightness of right now, and there's the insanity of being alive, like in this moment, like in all the vastness of space and time. Just actually being alive right now is incredible, and I try to tap into that, and it's helped a lot with parenting, because I don't know, in my own life there's been nothing like parenting that to teach me patience and embracing the mundane with knowing that it's doing all kinds of things in your own heart and in the heart of those you're caring for, and in the greater picture, whatever that entails. So I don't know if that answers your question. I have to remember to come back to the boat, though, or it's too much. It can be too much.
Or you can drift. Yeah. I think we are living in really unprecedented times, evolutionary times. We have climate crisis, we have pandemics, we have, in America, there are school shootings, mass shootings, major depression, cancer. It's really harsh, very harsh winds. And if we can just be creatives, and if we can be change agents and just be loving and kind, we're probably already being of great service to this world, because I think that it does touch people that are sensitive. We're not disconnected from people that are in school shootings, even though they're not our own children, right? It touches the social injustice. It touches us. We are, it's hard not to go into the darkness and to find that balance. If you had, Beth, one little thing to say about like the role that voice plays for you, the importance that it is, whether you're speaking or singing or writing, what would it be? What is a gem of voice for you?
I found that voice for me is my weapon of choice.
Nice.
In hopefully in the best kind of way, but the paths in my mind are well worn into despair, but creating and taking chaos and weaving it into something beautiful and singing it out has power. And I just keep saying to myself these days, fight back with beauty and against your own despair. Like, fight back with your voice.
Beautiful. Beth, thank you so much for uplifting us today here at Voice Rising. I wish you all the best, much success for your amazing new album, and I will keep in touch.